All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I am Sam Belcher. That is Mike D. Friend, and we are here getting ready to do a mock draft. Very excited here because free agency is kind of in that dying out point, and now is the time where you can really look back and not look back, look forward to the NFL draft in April in person. Prospects are going to be able to walk up on the podium, take that hat. I'm very excited, and interestingly, the Seahawks do not have a lot of picks, so it's going to be very interesting to see what we make out of this mock draft. Now, this is going to be a dream mock draft. So this is if me and Mike were the general managers or we're in the draft room. I'm John, he's Pete, and we're there, and we're sitting there, and we're like, all right, who's on the board? Are we going to trade? Where are we going to trade? Stuff like that. If you want to know how to use this mock draft simulator, profootballnetwork.com. They have a mock draft simulator. It's my favorite mock draft simulator. So I think we're just going to hop straight on in here, simming to the Seahawks pick, which is our first pick at 56. And here we are. We automatically have two offers. One is from Baltimore. It proposes us giving up pick 56 and 129 for 58 and 104. So we move back 2 for one, move up 25 for another. Or pick 56 to Buffalo for pick.
This looks like the John Schneider trade right here. Move back a little bit, get an extra pick. We only have 3 picks. Another run in the 4th. John Schneider loves those 4th mid-round picks. I say that if the Seahawks get this offer from the Bills, and I think we should definitely accept this also. I think this is
interesting though. Are you valuing this year and maybe moving up in this year's draft, or are you valuing next year and moving up in next year's draft to get an additional pick?
I think that here's my thing. I think we need to take all the draft picks we can get, especially because we don't have a first next year either. So I definitely think that, we can, talk about this in a little bit, but I think this is our best offer. If we have a guy at 56 that we want, I think we should see the prospects that are still available, if we have a guy. So one guy that we talked about, Landon Dickerson, center in Alabama. We see him right there. Will he be available if we move back 5 spots? I don't know. So,
and it kind of talks about what happens here. He's a perfect center, kind of looking at him, nice size. He's physical. He can be athletic. He's a good pass blocking and run blocking center, but it kind of outlines the one main issue here. He's very injury prone.
Yes.
And, it says here, large and dominant and best in a small area, but severely hampered by injuries. So you wonder.
That's definitely something that we need to consider. But I think a guy like Aaron Donald being in our division, we need to prioritize center and guard, and we just got Gabe Jackson. So, for my input, I would slide in and I'd say, hey, let's take.
What about Quinn Miners? Because it does have him projected as a 3rd-round pick here. However, in real life, he's likely going to be a 2nd-round pick. This is somebody who we talked about in a previous episode. Very mean. He's about 6'3", weighs in about 310, 315, and he ran a 4.8 40.
That's some good moving for a big dude there.
He can play center and he can play both guard positions. Now, do you kind of value playing in the SEC and maybe taking a bigger risk here with the injury, or do you value a guy who you think can be a real beast, but potentially playing in the Division III school like Wisconsin Whitewater hurts his. Hurts his.
Well, I think if we decide that we want to take him, I think we should definitely accept that offer from the Bills to move back 5 spots, because I don't think he'll be taken in the next 5 spots. Then that way we'll get an extra 4th for next year. So if we're going to take him, I think we definitely accept that offer from the Bills. But if we want to take Landon, I think we take him at 56. He's right up there as the best prospect still available. So, I think it's a coin flip. I think if we take the offer from the Bills, we get an extra 4th.
And there's a chance that Dickerson might still be on the board. There is a chance. Right. So it's kind of worth taking that. So we are accepting this trade, pick 56 to Buffalo in exchange for pick 61 and a 2022 4th-round pick. and he is still on the board, but we do have more trade offers.
So we've just got.
I think this trade is kind of out of the window because we have to give up a this year pick, very valuable.
We're not giving up any picks this year.
Or we could slide back 17 spots or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, so we slide back, 17 spots,
and get an extra pick in the fifth.
Now the question is, once again, do you Dickerson is on the board, but do you feel comfortable enough to say that if Miners is your guy,
mm-hmm.
or even like Dylan Radins, or kind of a guy like Walker Little from Stanford, who I like both a lot,
right?
Are they going to be available at 78? I think right here is where you pull the trigger on Landon Dickerson. I think the potential.
You got to have a guy. He's all SEC. He was a stud at Alabama. They won the offensive line award for the best offensive line in the nation, largely due to him. I think he's a stud. He is an injury risk for sure, but I mean, worst case scenario, if he gets injured this year, we have Ethan Pokic, who is a solid starter. I wouldn't say anything spectacular.
Yeah.
So that's the low side. The upside is he's one of the best starters in the NFL, and he's a guy who was at least capable of somewhat stopping Aaron Donald. So I think we've just gotten an extra 4th round pick. We're sitting at 61, late second. This is the time where we pull the trigger on Landon Dickerson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and also, even if you look at it, he doesn't have to start this year. If you're in camp and you're like, oh, he might not be ready, he still has a lingering issue in his ankle or something from last year that he just can't get over.
I believe it was his leg, his leg or his knee or something like that. Yeah,
Posick can just slide right in and still play because he's expected to be the center of this team. So we are selecting at pick 61, Landon Dickerson, center from Alabama. We are now going to have a long slide down the draft board all the way into the 4th round at pick 129. No trade offers here from any teams. And I think right now is where you kind of take a look at that wide receiver position.
Definitely. So at the wide receiver position, we need a wide receiver 3 to complement DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So what I'm looking for here more specifically is speed. I want speed. Unfortunately, it looks like Rondell Moore has already been taken, so we won't get a chance to draft him. And I don't know, what guys do you kind of see here that you like?
Well, you kind of look at, automatically I look here at Marquis Stevenson.
Yes.
Number one, I don't even watch a lot of college football, so I'm not even totally sure if I know who Marquis Stevenson is. However, looking at his draft report, big play threat at Houston, who projects as a vertical wide receiver, but can also return kicks and should flourish early in his career as a slot wideout.
This reminds me of the draft report of Tyler Lockett coming out of Kansas State. He was not a guy that was going to come in day one and be your number 1 wide receiver. He was going to make his way, returning kicks, playing in the slot, big play threat. But over time, he built that chemistry with Russell Wilson, and obviously he's now a 1 receiver, maybe even a 2 with DK Metcalf here, but he's a quality number 1 receiver. Marquis Stevenson, I'd say we keep an eye on him. He's he's listed at 112, and we're in the 129s right now.
Yeah. However, I look at one guy here on this list, and it's Anthony Schwartz, the wide receiver out of Auburn. The Seahawks have met with him, according to Justin M on Twitter from the Draft Network, and he ran a 4.26 at his pro day for Auburn. 4.26. A large upside, if properly coached, could develop into a third receiver in the next level. Terrific athlete with a second gear and the ability to break big plays. Saw a lot of this guy's tape. A lot of what he did at Auburn was catch screens and kind of just, do reverses, go deep every once in a while.
Well, and that's exactly what we just said. We need a wide receiver 3. And what do we want from our wide receiver 3? We want speed. Speed. I was going to mention him. I really like Anthony Schwartz. He is a guy who's not a very polished receiver. His routes aren't exactly what I'd like, but he's fast. He is faster than fast. 4.26, like you said. I didn't know that was official. I just thought it was rumored, but if it's official, I mean, that is speed, and more speed. I say, this is pick 129. It's not a first-round pick. It's not even a second-round pick. I say we pull the trigger on Anthony Schwartz. We have a guy who could potentially be a Tyree Hill type. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry for jumping in, but now I'm saying we could also attempt to offer a trade and maybe fall back because Anthony Schwartz is a 140 kind of guy. We could drop back to Green Bay and potentially gather another 7th round pick here for us. And that, I feel like that's very important for us. We don't really have a lot of picks. So I just want to see, like, maybe we could pull the trigger on a move where we could go like from 129 to 135 and get in a pick like 256. It was declined.
Okay.
So I don't know, because I feel like the need to get picks is very, very large. I'm not comfortable here sitting after picking this.
Why don't we try this? Why don't we try trading with Atlanta for their 136? So they'll take our 129. We'll give them 136, and then we include
219.
I'm sorry. We include 219. Try that. See if that works.
It's been accepted. Beautiful.
Awesome.
So we fall back 7 picks.
Okay.
And we also gather another 7th round pick here.
Awesome. So,
and Schwartz is still on the board, but we have a beefy offer here from Houston. To move back 11 spots. A little bit of a risk. However, there isn't a couple other people who I like a lot. Specifically Shi Smith, K. Johnson, and Wap Filior. I like all 3 of those guys as potential rack catchers.
Yeah.
We gain a pick here, fall back 11, and give away 250 as well to get 147.
I don't like this move. I'm going to be honest, I
don't
don't like this move because if Houston's trying to trade up, that means they have a guy that they really like. Houston needs wide receivers for sure. They lost Will Fuller. That's a big loss. I really feel like they're going to be looking for a guy like Anthony Schwartz. I would decline this trade. And if I were going to attempt to trade, I would try to get it within the Dallas, New England, Washington football team range right there. 11 spots.
Real quick, let's see if we can just try to slide right in right there. And I do feel you, because Will Fuller, compared to Anthony Schwartz, are very similar players. Not really refined route runners, just guys who are really fast and will win deep. So I'm kind of looking into that Washington range. Maybe we could go ahead, maybe make a move like this if they're open. I just feel like they wouldn't give away a 7th to move up 4 spots if they don't have a guy that they would like.
Yeah.
So I just think we pull the trigger right now on Anthony Schwartz.
I completely agree. We've already got our extra pick. We have Anthony Schwartz, the guy we really like. We waited for him. I don't want to wait anymore. I say Anthony Schwartz. He's got an elite speed. We can mold him. He could be great with Russ. I say we pull the trigger on Anthony Schwartz right here.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move ahead and pick Anthony Schwartz. Now we have 2 more picks in the 7th round that we will be working with. And that's gonna almost wrap up our draft here. So 219.
So I think at 219, what we're looking for guys with upside, guys who could probably contribute on special teams. So I would go personally pass rusher, because if there's a chance that you can get a quality pass rusher in the 7th round, you have to take it. This is not a guy who's going to get 10 sacks a year, maybe contribute a couple sacks, maybe, contribute on special teams like I just said. So I think right here we have to go defensive line, and, you're looking at some D tackles right here. I mean, yeah. Completely agree.
Right. I'm kind of reading, Jonathan Marshall, defensive tackle out of Arkansas. First off, we're all about the SEC guys today. Yep. If we pick this guy, it would be 3 SEC players.
Best division in college football. No doubt about it.
It's the best conference. So, but look at this. Athletic defensive lineman with a large upside. And that's kind of what we're looking for in the 7th round.
And the thing that they say he must improve his strength. Weight room.
Yeah.
He can go to the weight room.
Send him on the practice squad maybe for a year. Let him hit that weight room all year long. Next year he's going to come back and he's going to be
exactly
beefy.
Especially considering we just lost a guy, Jaron Reed. Need a new defensive tackle. We need some more defensive tackle depth. I think defensive tackle is definitely a move. We're getting a guy who could be a quality starter. And if not, it's a 7th round pick. Who cares, in my opinion?
Well, I just think we should kind of take a look at everything available. I also think that corner deserves a look.
Yes.
Yamador Lenoir.
That's a great name. That is a great name. I love
that name. Underrated corner who's rarely challenged at Oregon due to his ability to shut down receivers. Possesses enough skills to start in nickel packages at the next level. Nickel packages. Loves nickel packages?
Pete Carroll gets so horny when he sees a nickel package situation.
Big nickel.
Can you check his height and weight, please?
Height and weight. Is that possible? I do not believe that's actively available.
Let me Google it really quick just to see. If he's above like 6'2", how do you spell?
DEO.
Yeah.
MM.
Yeah.
OD.
I got it. It came up.
Yeah. And what are we looking at? Because if he's in that range of that size,
he's 5'11", which is a downside for sure.
Hey, DJ Reed.
Yeah,
I mean, you could look at it. I mean, also, I've heard that they've, from what I've heard from what Seattle's been meeting with, they've been sniffing around at linebacker.
Especially if KJ Wright, it is not coming back.
KJ Wright, he's looking like it's not coming. Like he's not coming back. It's it's kind of up in the air at this point. Another guy who immediately caught my eye, though, once we got in this area, is Elric Jackson out of Iowa. Mm-hmm. Tackle, consistent start at left tackle for the past 3 seasons. It comes with upside, but needs to work on his game. Dwayne Brown is going to be 36 by the time this year starts. He has 1 year left on his deal. And, I mean, listen, needs to work on his game. Let him come to Seattle and sit behind Dwayne Brown for 1 year. Let him teach him everything he knows. And let him just learn. That's all he needs to do. A high upside guy. So I think we're kind of looking at these two guys here. I think we're either looking at Elric Jackson or Jonathan Marshall, like we talked about.
Here's the other thing I'll say about Jackson is if we have an injury situation similar to what we had last year with Brandon Shell, slide him at right tackle. You don't have to shuffle around the whole offensive line. So
what do you think is a bigger need? Do you value defensive tackle depth, which we kind of lack, or do you value future potential linemen?
Here's what I'll say, right? So we're looking at what's, draft ranking that these guys at. Marshall's at 230. Can you go back really quick and look at what Jackson's at? Because potentially we can get both of these guys. So Elric Jackson's 223. So he is the guy who's going to go off the board sooner. I say we take Elric Jackson now, and then if we can see if Marshall's available later, we could potentially get both of those guys. But I think Elric is the guy who's going to go off the board first, so I think we should take him first.
Yeah, I just looked up his build. He's 6'6", 315.
That is sexy.
He's got the build at left tackle. I'm all on board. Elric Jackson out of Iowa is potentially the future left tackle of this team. And finally, here picking at 250, Jonathan Marshall's off the board. We're looking at defensive tackle here.
That's fine.
Kiairis Tonga, another fantastic name. Possesses the size and athleticism to be a dominant force on the field and has flashed as much in the past. Comes with a large upside, but must really pull the pieces of his game together.
Okay.
Interesting. Lorenzo Neil out of Purdue. Skilled to be a middle round pick. Never capitalized on the early success. Big-bodied, zero technique.
Here's what I don't like. One time, if you can go back to Lorenzo Neil's draft report really quick, one time highly rated defensive tackle who watched his game fall off the past 3 seasons. I do not like that at all. That's a major red flag for me.
You don't like to hear that.
I don't like a guy who's been falling off. Again, we hear a guy who needs to build up strength. Very easy to hit the weight room and build up strength. A guy whose game has been falling off, it's a red flag for me.
Yeah. I mean, it does talk about, getting leverage, displays solid change of direction. I just don't like his overall, usually there's a reason for why you're falling off. It might be lack of work ethic. It might be just, not staying fully focused on football. I just don't like that. I don't like that a whole lot. I'm going to take a look at Darrell Slate in here. Clog the middle of the field and push the pocket at the college level. Dropped almost 30 pounds since the end of his senior season.
Wow.
So, I don't know. It talks about him just being good enough to make a practice squad, which I don't, do you kind of want to settle for the bare minimum, or do you kind of maybe want to go out and automatically the guy who I'm getting drawn to here is this guy, Ki Iris Tonga out of BYU. Just listen. We lost Jaron Reed. Listen to his positives in his game. Explosive, wide-body defender who takes up a lot of room in the middle of the line. Fires off the snap, plays with excellent pad level, and is rarely off his feet. Good with hands, resilient, and flashes athleticism. Consistently double-teamed in the middle of the line, keeps his feet moving, and plays through the whistle. Possesses the size and athleticism to be a dominant force on the field and has flashed it in the past. Once again, you're at 250, you're sitting there, you're just like, what do we do? We're kind of sitting here. you want to take a guy who has a description like this, a guy
This is a guy who, I mean, when you're looking at defensive tackles, specifically late in the draft, explosive is a word you love to hearing. Takes up a lot of room on the middle of the line, fires off the snap. I mean, those are words that you really, really like hearing. Those are compliments you hear of guys going in the first and second rounds. Explosive, fires off the snap, athletic. So I think this is a guy who could potentially be really, really good. And I think at worst case scenario, he's a practice squad guy. And I think at best case scenario, he could be a solid presence up the middle. I'll take Kiairis, or however you say his name, Tonga.
Ki Iris.
Ki Iris Tonga. My apologies to Ki Iris.
Now we're going to kind of break down our draft and kind of see where these guys fit into our current and or future plans. So we're going to take a look at first Landon Dickerson. We kind of talked about here. He's a guy who, if we need him to be, can be an instant plug and play at center. Right. He can be. He's just a guy who you can instantly push in on the offensive line, and he will probably play at a solid level. He's powerful. He'll fit the Pete Carroll run scheme. However, those injuries are really what concerns.
That's why he's not a first-round pick. That's the reason he's not a first-round pick right there.
Like, how comfortable would you be if this were to happen in real life? Like, how would you feel? Like, if you were to give it an instant grade in real life, you didn't make the pick, what would you give it?
B plus, because what it does is, number one, it addresses one of our biggest needs, which is still offensive line. Number two, and I've said this, I sound like a broken record, it makes Russ happy. Mm-hmm. I think three, it's a huge upside. Center is a very important position on the offensive line. This is a guy who was all SEC, all American. Alabama. I mean, there's a reason that Alabama had so much success on the ground last year. I think Landon Dickerson is a great player, but again, the injuries. So if he's often injured and he can't stay healthy, then this pick doesn't do much good as a second rounder. But I think we're taking a first round talent in the second round, which is always a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, every player has a red flag. There's never any players who don't have one red flag. And it seems like Dickerson would be like the best center prospect, and would be like a first round pick if he didn't have injuries. Like, I've heard a lot of stuff, just like he's a pretty good pass blocker, pretty good in the run, who can power and dominate, but can also kind of move a little bit.
Don't be surprised if this guy goes to the Packers. I think the Packers are a team that would definitely take a look at Landon Dickerson, being that they
Packers,
just lost. Yeah.
Or Chiefs or somebody like that who needs a center and has an active need. Also, we were kind of talking before this. We both want Creed Humphrey. Would you say that Creed Humphrey is a better player than Landon Dickerson? Immediately, if you just had to plug him in day one offensive line, who would you prefer?
That's tough.
Because they're very similar.
Because with Creed, you, again, very dominant, very, very good. But he's not going – like, Landon went up against legitimate NFL defensive linemen while at Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. The SEC is known for their defense. They're known for their interior guys. The Big 12, not so much. But Oklahoma does have a very good history of good offensive linemen in the NFL. We got guys like Lane Johnson,
Trent Williams.
We have really good offensive linemen coming out of Oklahoma. Same thing with Bama. Creed will definitely go higher in the draft because of the non-injury. Yeah, non-injuries.
Super risk,
played with Kyler Murray, played with Baker, I believe.
Yeah, I think Creed Humphrey was a 4-year starter, so he was there for all that.
He was there for 2 Heisman winners. I mean, that's really what you look for, right? Is he was a stud for years and years. I would probably give it to Creed by the hair on my chinny chin, assuming they're both healthy. But Landon is right there. He's right there.
Yeah, I mean, just both are high quality centers in the draft, and it's really rare that you're sitting at 61 and you could say, well, we have a potential guy who is a plug and play. Right. He's a guy you can just throw in and he'll probably be solid. So I'm very high on that pick. Next up, Anthony Schwartz.
Speed.
Just speed. So I gotta say, speed. You could probably plug him in at in the Rams system. Shane Waldron, obviously coming from the Rams. We need a guy who's really going to fit their system. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp were guys who would do reverses, would do screens, would do all kinds of wacky stuff that that Pete Carroll has probably never even thought of doing in his life, because that's just how he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need a guy who can do that.
And
I just think Schwartz really fits.
Obviously, is Schwartz a polished receiver? No. Best hands? No. Route runner? No. But two guys have been taken in the last 5 or 6 years that fit very similar to what Anthony Schwartz is. Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman.
Mm-hmm.
Mecole was probably a more polished receiver, but Tyreek was coming off. He had speed, and he was a track star. He was a speedster. Teams love that. And honestly, you can't teach speed. You really can't. You can teach route running. You could teach better catching.
You can even teach strength. You can even teach that.
You can build that up. Speed is one of those things that very rarely are people able to significantly increase their speed. And he's got world-class speed. I can just imagine the moon balls that Russell Wilson's going to throw to Anthony Schwartz. Oh my God, my heart is so happy right now.
And, like thinking about it, the Seahawks have picked another receiver in the previous years who was not a polished route runner. Didn't catch well, kind of.
He can only run go routes.
Yeah, he can only run go routes. He's a very beta receiver. Can't really do anything else.
Who's this receiver?
That was DK Metcalf.
Oh my God, it's DK Metcalf.
Despite
a stud.
The build is different, obviously. Schwartz is like a 5'10". DK is like 6'4" or something like that. But
DK is built like a Greek god.
Yeah. Overall, I think this would just, even if he's not your starting third receiver, even if you're more comfortable with Freddie Swain because maybe he can run routes better, he can be a gadget player. He can be a guy who you bring in and just send him deep 5 times a game. He can be a guy who you give a reverse to. He can be a guy you give a screen to.
I think at the very least,
pumped.
I think very bare minimum of what Anthony Schwartz would do is he would stretch the field.
Yeah. He would back safeties
stretch the field.
He would allow more short plays because it would back safeties up automatically, knowing that a guy with 4.26
and when people are backed up, that opens up the running game even more. We love Anthony Schwartz. Yeah. Speed. It's one of the very few Auburn players I will compliment as an Alabama fan. It's just speed. Absolutely love Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah. And also real quick, I just want to tell you, do you remember Tyree Hill in his early career at Kansas City? He was not a receiver. He was a guy who would literally play running back. I don't know if you guys remember that. You guys should go back and watch like Tyreek Hill 2016 tape, because he was just a guy who would like play running back. He would play wide receiver. He would do wide receiver screens and reverses. And that's when Alex Smith was still in Kansas City. He was that guy. And then he kind of became.
He was just on the field. On the field. Exactly. We can't say enough good things about Anthony Schwartz. Again, bring him to Russ. He'll help him with his routes. He'll catch better. Just please get him in the building.
Get him in. Next up, Elric Jackson from Iowa. Really future left tackle here. 6'6", 315.
Love the build.
Got the build that you love, and it really says, and something that even thought about after we made this pick. Doesn't block with a nasty attitude. Dwayne Brown's nickname is Papa Bear. If anybody can teach a young 22-year-old guy who is 6'6", 315 how to block nasty, it's gonna be Dwayne Brown, because Dwayne Brown is not a finesse guy. Have you seen how he's built? He's like a wall. He's a brick wall, and that's just kind of how he's made. Yep. And maybe even throw him in the weight room during training camp, just because we're going to be in person more and more during training camp. Just throw him in the weight room for like 6 hours a day. Just pumping iron.
And then, for our last two guys, Elric Jackson, again.
Just potential future.
Really, really potential. And then at 250, we're taking a D tackle from BYU, Tonga. I forgot how you said his first name.
Kiairis
Tonga. I don't want to mispronounce it. He's got the drive and the athleticism to be a really dominant defensive tackle. We just released Jaron Reed. I mean, this is a good move as a 7th-round pick. Again, if he doesn't pan out, it's a 7th-round pick. Who really cares? We're taking a guy that could be good one day. So,
and we get a future 4th. But anyways,
we finessed.
Yeah.
Anyways,
finessed. That's going to wrap up this first mock draft. The next mock draft, you can probably expect something more realistic, maybe with more trades because it's more realistic. But Anyways, that's going to wrap it up. Next episode, you can probably expect a full free agency breakdown and maybe a starting offense and defense projection. But anyways, we are gonna we appreciate you for listening / watching, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.
Catch you later.